Welcome, sports fans. This is the NTC podcast. Aaron Washington, your host. I'm glad to be back with you guys after quite a long hiatus, but we are back in the fold, getting ready to dive into some more basketball action. We are back at Summer League, NBA Summer League 2K26. We are really happy to have the opportunity to be back at the Summer League studio here in Las Vegas, live from UNLV. So we're going to jump right into things here with a frequent guest of the show. Nick Lagios is here, everybody. We are really glad to have Nick back in the fold. We were just talking about how we've linked up pretty much every year we've been at Summer League. I think since like 21 or something like that.
Yeah,
we've done a pod together.
I think I had to wear a mask during that. So yeah, it was like 21. I'm like, wow, this is interesting doing a podcast with this. But it's been fun to have this a yearly tradition.
Man, I love it, man. I'm so glad you made it back and we were able to keep this going. So appreciate you taking the time, man.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course, yeah. So a little bit about Nick, everybody. Nick has been around a little bit. He's been in the NBA, he's been in the G League, and now he's in the Mexican Basketball League.
Yep.
So he started as a video intern with the Los Angeles Lakers. He moved on to Director of Basketball Operations and Player Development at the South Bay Lakers. And he was also a basketball development coordinator at the Los Angeles Lakers. The past couple of years, Nick, you moved on to some roles in the Mexican basketball. First was as the GM of the Mexico City Capitanes.
Yep.
So you had a really successful stint there. And now, most recently, you were the general manager of Diablos Rijos basketball.
Yep.
So really cool that you've been able to branch out a little bit. You've had experience in several different areas of basketball. You've gotten to see and do a lot in the field, meet a lot of different people. So basically during this pod, what we want to do is just talk to you about your experience, some differences between G League basketball, NBA basketball, Mexican League, and then got to throw in a little bit Lakers talk here, man.
For
You've
sure.
been with Lakers before, and they're really polarizing right now with some rumors going around. So want to discuss that as well. Should be a fun one.
Sounds good. Excited to do it. And then obviously we can talk about Summer League, being at Summer League, and just what everyone's doing here. I think a lot of people who are in or out of sports are like, what do you do there? Like, what's going on? And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, awesome. Let's do it, man. So we're going to jump right into it with essentially what teams are looking for, NBA versus G League, and then Mexican basketball as well. First thing I want to ask you, Nick, is pretty much what you're looking for in the different organizations, how that differs.
Yep.
So you've been with South Bay Lakers, Los Angeles Lakers, Mexico City. So, you've been around, and I'm sure that the priorities differ a little bit between those leagues. So when it comes to what's emphasized, like when you're talking with the scouting team, when you're talking to the coaching staff, what are you guys looking for? What were you looking for when you were a part of an NBA club, G League club, now with Mexican basketball? How do those priorities kind of differ between those leagues? Like, what are some of the differences when it comes to like scouting and looking at players?
Exactly. So for general context, generally a G League staff and NBA staff, it depends on the organization, but a lot of times they work as one. So with South Bay Lakers, LA Lakers, we essentially worked as ones. But still, let's just say a G League staff, they're here, and I would say that what they are looking for is potential two-way players to suggest to the NBA team, and they're also looking at players that would be good on their G League on an Exhibit 10, and then they're also, like when I was with the Lakers, we would invite potential two-ways to our Summer League team, Alex Caruso being the most famous one, obviously. We were like, let's try him out for a little bit. He had like one game, and we're like, okay, we need to two-way him immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like it's kind of like a test run to see how the guys are doing or how they're not doing. It's like a trial run before you get to the NBA training camp. Because let's say you get here and you're like, I think I like this guy as a two-way, and then he's not doing very well, whether it's your team or another team. It's kind of like it's like you get a trial before the season even starts, which is super helpful.
For sure.
And then as an international team, we are in season right now, so we're 4-0, and pretty good start. It's more of a like networking, talking to different people, talking to a lot of agents, explaining our season, timeline, situation. It's and I saw the other top teams in the Mexican League. They had Mexicali here, the Astros of Guadalajara. They were here as well. So it's more of a we're representing our team to different media, to different agents, and even players. When I see players like, hey, how's that league? Is that cool? And it's like, yeah, man, And then I'll tell other players yeah, it's not for you. You're on the Euro League, you're on the NBA route. Let's not. It's not for you. So it's kind of just a networking experience, mostly for my team. Now I did see Olympiacos, I saw other Euro League teams here. They're probably talking to agents about signing players for their upcoming season. So theirs is a little bit different.
Gotcha. Yeah, from what you've told me so far, it seems like When you're with an NBA club, you're looking for guys, like you said, a test run. You want to see what they got, if they kind of fit the mold of what the franchise is looking for in a player. And then you get to the Mexican League, and things are a little bit different. And obviously, your resources are different. The talent pool is different. Another change I wanted to discuss is style of play.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that a lot of people in the NBA circle have been talking about the past year or two. I feel like it's picked up. Just because of the pace and space era is kind of hitting a climax, it seems like, with the amount of threes, with the amount of movement and things like that. It's really at an all-time high. And I want to kind of see how this might differ or even compare a little bit to the Mexican basketball style of play. We might have discussed this before, but I want to get your thoughts again on how that differs. So, when you're coaching in that league and you watch these players from day to day, how is it different? Is it more of a grind-out game, more physical, more gritty? What have you seen from your time with the Capitanes and Rijos? How is that different from NBA basketball?
Yeah, I've really learned a lot, and I went in with a short off season. So I think last year we only had a 2-month off season, so I leaned heavily on our coach Nicolas Casalangida. He's an Argentinian coach. He's with the national team too with Argentina, but and he's coached the Mexican League multiple years. So I leaned heavily into his experience as I'm like, I know basketball, but I don't know Mexican League basketball.
Right.
And there's actually, within international basketball, there's different styles of play. So Puerto Rico is closer to G League, where it's more up and down. France plays more up and down. Ciba Copa, Venezuela is closer to us. So with us, we practice like 5-6 days between games. Like we'll play twice on the weekend. So it's a lot more tactical than I thought.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it's when I was a G League GM, it was like, okay, just get like as much talent on the floor, and like maybe one of them's a center, and you could have like 4 point guards, and it's all good, going up and down. But now like it's much more. You can't just like be athletic and like dunk on someone's head or whatever. Like at an N1, you have to be much more tactical with the defensive three in the key. I used to be a hater. I'm like, oh, it's slow and like bogged down. But now you have to be creative in how you score. You can't just literally come down the court and just like show them your step back. You have to like hit the high post, cut off the ball, and it's much more. I think it's a more watchable game, and it's not only because I've been working in FIBA for a year.
Sure.
Like I watch NBA, G League. Obviously in the NBA, the playoffs, the defense ramps up, and it's not like regular season. But I do think like you have to be more creative with how you score. You need higher IQ players. When we were looking at players, they're like 32, 33. I'm like, wow, they're kind of old, and our coach is like, no, like, right in his prime.
Just get started.
Yeah, exactly, because it's much higher IQ players. It's like they're much more experienced, and obviously they're not NBA talents. So it's and long story short, you have to put a team together that really fits. Versus NBA and G League, a lot of times I feel like you could put athleticism, you could put talented players on the floor, and then you can kind of just see what happens. And a lot of times it works.
Yeah, for sure. And those are all really good points. And it's really interesting to hear how that changes, how that style of play is different for NBA, and just seeing how FIBA works and, Euro basketball. Because I feel like that's another topic, a hot topic. It's like, you come into the NBA, you have so much talent out here, and you do see players like, a guy I've thought about when it comes to talent is A.J. Johnson on the Washington Wizards. I was watching him here yesterday at Thomas and Mack, and I just noticed that, there are some plays where he creates so much space just because he has that functional athleticism. He can create space for his shots, and he can get by people off of, his first step and rising up the athleticism in the air. So that's all really interesting. And we've seen guys sometimes that come into the league, and, they might even be rookies, and they just they have a really good year. People are not expecting it. They're not ready for them, and they dominate solely off of athleticism. I think Blake Griffin was a prime example in like that 2010 season.
For sure,
He came in and he was, rookie of the year. He was so good. He was an all-stars first year. And it's like, man, he doesn't even know how to play the game yet. He's just going off of like his physical tools. And obviously that's different in other leagues. You have to know the game. You have to be gritty. And I think it says a lot about players over there that get by with that IQ like you were talking about.
Yeah, and it's like you can still, like Matthias Osort, super athletic. He is a high IQ player. I'm not saying he's not. But he can still play like that. But he still is a smart player because, again, if you have defensive three in the key and you have, let's say, Papagiannis or 7'2" center just standing right underneath the basket, you can't just, in the NBA, like Blake Griffin, just throw me the lob and I'm going to take care of business. Now you have to know, like, when to run for that lob, and it's much more a game of chess. And I used to be a hater of like, oh, it's boring, But now I've seen like the intricacies of the game where it's like you have to, everyone has to be at a higher IQ player because it's going to be hard to play.
For sure. That makes a lot of sense. Nick, something else I was thinking about here recently is sample size with players. So you've been around scouting, you've been in the video department, you've looked at a lot of players, and I'm sure that the discussion comes up every now and then. It's like, have we seen enough from this guy to really be confident in offering him a two-way deal or bring him to training camp or something like that? Just want to get your thoughts on, and you can speak from different perspectives here because you've been around a little bit, but what goes into that decision to figure out if let's say a guy goes off for 30 points, maybe it's like 1 or 2 game sample. I'm sure it also depends on what their history was before they maybe came into summer league, like their high top tier prospect or second rounder. But what are some of the different factors that come into play when you're trying to decide? Have we seen enough from this guy? Do we need more games from him? What factors into that process?
Yeah, so when we're looking at a player, really I was trying to think of the differences: G League, NBA, international. It kind of starts with numbers, because you can look at a lot more numbers, and usually you have like an analytics team where, let's say you have 100 players. Okay, maybe we can whittle this down to 10 of players that we're looking at. Different types of analytics we could use in that. And then we like to watch video because, again, it's going to be much easier to just be like, wow, this guy did really good. Let's say Mozinho Pereira with the Brazilian League. We saw his numbers, and we had him in like a hustle guy center, kind of, we call it like a pod.
Yep.
And his numbers were just kind of like off the charts a little bit. But like, okay, let's watch it. Let's see how he did in Brazil. And yeah, he's catching every lob. Like, he's doing everything, hustling all over the floor. He's like, and he's doing it here in Summer League, which is pretty cool to see. And he obviously made it to the NBA. So again, it's like numbers, and then we watch a lot of video. But some guys get synergized, we say. So when we watch Synergy, and like, if the first 10 clips are bad, sometimes we'll keep watching. But then it's like a joke, like, oh, you got synergized. But then I remember we watched this Ukrainian dude once. I forgot his last name. But we were going crazy in the South Bay Laker room because he made like 10 straight threes.
Oh, wow.
And we were just going bananas. Like, he had Synergy help him. So, but yeah, you have to watch video. I mean, I would say average like at least 10 minutes as you're starting to get to know a player.
Right.
And then we talk to a lot of people too. Like, hey, so this guy did really well in the Brazilian League. Like, what do you think? Do you think he would be good in G League? Blah, blah, blah. Usually not just one person, multiple people. Really important. And then you would like to bring him to a training camp. You'd like to bring him to a mini camp. You'd like to bring him to Summer League. If when I was with Capitanes, we didn't have a Summer League team. I'm like, oh, I would love to try this guy because this guy did well in the Chilean League, let's say. Yep. I don't know how good he would be here. So that's kind of the tricky part. And that's the hardest part, I think, of scouting is if a guy does well in China, like Joe Young, for example. He came to Summer League. He looked like Allen Iverson in his prime in China, but then he came to us, and there was an adjustment of getting back to like how we played in the G League and NBA. And I think he did get called up eventually with Birmingham. Okay. But it's like how he did in China versus Summer League. It was a lot different. Like he was a different. I mean, China is a completely different level league. It's like comparing apples and oranges. And there is an adjustment that he was in NBA, went to China. Now he did G League. He did Summer League with us with the Lakers. So. That's the hardest part, I think, of any scouting thing is like how a guy does in, let's say, the big, I don't know the conferences anymore, but Big Ten, and how he does in Estonia, how he's going to do in your next league. Sure.
And I'm sure when that adjustment and, like, for instance, Joe Young being in China and then coming over, when you talked about the style of play, I think that also plays a part. You're playing one type of basketball and may kind of cater to your game a little bit.
Yep.
And then you come over and, things are different. Maybe it's a faster game, more talent. So, it kind of, you learn a lot about a player based on how he kind of adapts to that as well. I think that's very important. It speaks a lot to his character and, mental fortitude, and in addition to talent. I think those all play a part in that.
100%. I think the part that what I've really learned it's different with NBA, G League. Like NBA, if a guy does well in the G League, it's pretty close to he's going to do well in the NBA. Now, maybe a guy like plays a certain way in the G League, he can't do that in the NBA because, again, like, if a point guard, it's just different. Like centers in the NBA, I remember when they'd be assignment players in G League, it's like, okay, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
This guy's like, this guy's 7 feet, good hands, rolls to the rim hard. It's like G League centers aren't like that. Usually they're overseas making a lot of money. But what we found with FIBA especially, if we see that a player's really smart, he's going to do well regardless of, like, we have this guy, Chris Halmanis. He's on the Latvian national team. Gael Bonilla on the Mexican national team. They're both 22, 23. And they're just like mini Jokic's just picking teams apart. And they're 22 or 23 years old. And like, Chris was doing well. I think it was in the Latvian league last year. He's from Latvia. but then still trying to be like, is he going to be good in the Mexican League? Like, I'm not sure. And then we played 4 games. He's been really good. So it's like
Nice.
and that's what a lot of scouts here. I think I know what a lot of scouts are doing here. What I loved was, you watching these guys for 3, 4, 5 months, and now you get to see them on summer league teams, whether it's your team or another team. It's like I remember watching Terrence Davis. I'm like, I loved him at Portsmouth. He was on Denver's summer league team, I think. Like, wow, like I thought he was going to be good, and he was good,
Yeah.
But like sometimes I'm wrong too. So it's like it's really. It's like I'm more excited to see a lot of these games as a scout and preseason games rather than just normal regular season games.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. You kind of see if, it's really cool, like you said, to be able to follow guys' journeys, and if they do succeed, it's like, man, I was in this corner back before he had a guaranteed deal, or
I was wrong,
or something,
or I was
wrong.
I'm like, and then you have to look at like, why was I wrong? Because
Right.
you have these ideas of what you think the player can do. Like, is he going to be like Isaiah Thomas, or is he not? And then you try and like. You don't want to like, okay, this player is going to be like this player in the future, but you kind of have to like, they're like comparisons.
Sure.
If this guy did well, like maybe he's going to be like this guy because same conference, same size, same ability, and that's I think the funnest part of scouting.
Yeah, for sure. Another factor when it comes to players' development, whether they make it or not, is the situation they're placed in, both from a team construction perspective and from a coaching perspective.
Yep.
Those are all very important. When it comes to coaching and the development side, you've been a basketball development coordinator with the Lakers, so you've seen a little bit of that. I wanted to ask you about what the approach is like from a development perspective. Once they're on the team, you're looking to get those players better, because that's the goal across every league of basketball. Between NBA G League and Mexican basketball, international basketball, this is something we also talked about, I think, when you were the Capitanes. Because I think I asked you, like, how do you balance that out between like wanting to compete for a championship and also wanting guys to get better to the point where teams are calling them up? So you kind of juggle that around a little bit. How does that approach differ between the leagues in terms of like what you're looking for from players, as they progress in their careers? What do you emphasize when you're developing those guys? What are some differences you notice there between those different types of basketball?
Yeah, so with G League, it's really interesting. You bring in a guy on an Exhibit 10 or maybe on a two-way, or maybe a tryout player, and you're trying to. It's really, that's the difficult part of the G League, is that there's multiple agendas here. They say that it's for development. I agree, but every team wants to win at the same time.
For sure.
So a lot of times at the G League level, we are working on we're working on things that the player isn't necessarily good at, things that will help them get to the NBA. That does not necessarily help us win games, because let's say if we're working on a player who can't shoot and we're working on his shot a lot. Okay, like that's great, but it's in maybe in game situations we do have them get, or maybe we're trying to work on their playmaking skills and they can't really do it. But it's like, to get to the next level, he's going to have to be a playmaker. If he's a small guard, he can't just go up there and do whatever. So that's the hard part of G League. Yes, we work on the skills to help him get to the NBA. Hopefully it works. And the two ways, same thing. Like to stick in the NBA, like with Caruso, is like he was I think a better NBA player than G League player, because NBA he's an elite role player. I mean, he's playing Game 7 of the finals. He's like an elite role player, but as point guard, like we had better point guards who could just do whatever they want at the G League level. But then when he goes to the NBA and he's playing next to LeBron and Anthony Davis or Shai Gilgeous, he can do his role really well. So that's the tricky dynamic. And then let's say with NBA, you have your niche, unless you're like a Megatron type player where you do everything. Like this is what you're going to do, and you're going to do it well, and you're going to try and work on that. And now with international, it's a little bit different. Unless a player is on a multi-year contract, which is it's not common in international basketball. It's kind of like, we're going to work on what you need to do for us this season, because it's just not now we do work with younger players and we work on things that will help them in the future. We have a few 16, 17-year-olds working in like our mini academy, so obviously we're thinking long-term with them. But with, I'd say, almost every international team, it's like, let's work on their skill that will help them right now for us, because there's not, I don't think any 3-4 year contract in the international basketball, unless you're EuroLeague or something. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that security is something that's not really there for them. So I think that also kind of plays a part into like, what you emphasize with the players, because I'm sure for them, they don't have that luxury of time because they don't have multiple years. So it's like, okay, how can you help us win? And then a byproduct of that is, they look better if they're on a winning team. they can highlight what they're good at, and then it can help them get another contract, whether it's EuroLeague team or get to the NBA or something like that.
Yeah.
So I can see how that all kind of like connects when it comes to like what you're trying to get these guys to do.
Yeah, it really comes down to the security part for the player and for the staff. Like my American brain sometimes is like, wait, that team has had like 3 coaches this year. It's like, wait, they've switched their point guard like 6 times. Like, what's going on? So I've definitely brought a little of that like American, like we need to trust our system, trust our process, trust staff, players. Obviously sometimes it doesn't always work, and you do have to make a change. But I have much more trust in like thinking more long term. Like last year, we were I think when I was here, we were 1-1 or 2-2. We were kind of sputtering for the first couple months, but I knew we had to make a change or two. We did that, and then I knew that a couple of these players are getting close to really hitting their peak, and then once we got the playoffs, we won the championship. So it's kind of like a lot of teams will panic and then blow everything up and change it. That's just but also it's just the ecosystem of NBA G League is just, it's apples and oranges compared to how international basketball, where just the pressure to win is pretty much constant.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's another reason why we see some guys internationally come over to the NBA and, they're ready to play.
Yeah, exactly.
They've been in a winning environment and the expectations are high.
Yeah, I find with the national team players especially, like if you're a national team player with Mexico, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, you've had so much attention. Puerto Rico, you've had so much pressure, so much attention from a young age that they don't even get phased.
Yeah,
it's like
for sure.
to play a summer league team or it's like, oh man, I've done way more pressure. Like this is not I'll be all right. So they're like more like game ready, 100%.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Something else I thought about with these players in these different leagues is some of the intangibles.
Yeah.
So we talked about the numbers, we talked about the tape, the scouting part of things, and there's some things that players kind of show that don't show up in the box score.
Yeah.
So whether it's like coachability or that mental toughness, or the hustle or something like that. I wanted to ask you if you've noticed any differences, if there are any, between maybe some of the personalities of players between these leagues. So when it comes to maybe NBA players, since some of them have had a very prolific background coming through high school and maybe college, I think I have it figured out because I'm a top 10 pick or something like that, as opposed to maybe somebody in the Capitanes or Mexican league that had to kind of start from the bottom and work their way up. If you've seen maybe like another element of humility with those guys, or hard work, grittiness, any differences there that you notice between how these guys maybe approach the game, maybe some of their habits that they have, anything that stood out to you in terms of like how the players conduct themselves.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because the ages are quite a bit different too.
For sure.
So the ages of like I was saying before, like you're kind of in your prime in international basketball. Let's say like 29 to 34.
Yeah.
In G League, that's like kind of unheard of.
For sure.
So, I mean, we have actually 3 22, 23-year-olds right now, but they've been pro since they're like 16 years old.
Wow.
So we had Gael Bonilla, Andre Barbosa, and Chris Hamanes. They were all in an academy system in Spain. So, yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. My experience, like the guys who do go pro early, the guys who I guess have to put the big boy pants on at a younger age, they do. And then also living in another country, 16 years old, like you've already been going pro, just the level of responsibility that they've had at a young age is like in general higher than what most American players have just by the environment.
Right.
Moving across the world. Malik Lewis we had with Capitanes, he was 18, 19. He was 18 with us, but super mature because he's already been living in Spain for 4 years. So it's like, it is interesting. I think a lot of the younger players, they did have to grow up quicker, but also with like the international basketball world, you have to be part of the team and the system, or it's going to be adios amigo, because it's like, and when in the U.S. it's different because it's like it's kind of like the players you have to have good players on your team. So sometimes as a G League GM or NBA general manager, you kind of have to go with the flow a little bit more because it's like, you can tell Dennis Rodman or whoever what you need, but it's also like you have to work with them at the same time.
Exactly.
Like it's like Rob Gronkowski. I'm a huge Patriots fan. He was probably doing whatever, but if you're Bill Belichick, it's like, is that fight worth fighting, or do we just kind of let him do his, like if he wants to do whatever, then you have to work with your stars a little bit more.
Right. Yeah. I think a prime example of that, I've noticed in Summer League, is Rob Dillingham on the Timberwolves Summer League squad.
Yeah.
He's a player I wasn't there. I think it was the year before I started covering the Overtime Elite League in Atlanta. But he was there, and I remember talking to Damian Wilkins out here last year. I did an interview with him, general manager of OTE, and he talked about how they let Rob be Rob.
Yeah. Exactly.
His social media handle is Rob with the shifts.
Yeah.
So he's just like a super shifty player. He's got
Yeah.
like this exciting handle. He's so entertaining. And, he comes out to Summer League, and they kind of like let him do something similar.
Yep.
Now, obviously, I'm sure there's some boundaries in place, so you're not just completely all over the court.
Yep.
But he's the type of player, like, he has a certain play style, has a lot of flair to it.
Yep.
And you don't want to strip them of that because that's kind of like the player he is. So the Summer League team, notice, is kind of catered around that to an extent. Like, he loves to just kind of break his defender down off the dribble and, make a flashy pass or a
Yep.
flashy dribble or something, like a quick spin move. And, the crowd will be oohing and eyeing. So from a marketability standpoint, that's great for the Timberwolves. But it's something I've noticed for sure with some, USA players. It's, they play a certain way maybe in high school, and they get to college and NBA, and it's like, hey, this is the type of player they are. And I think allowing them to do that to an extent helps us in the long run. It's going to help us win games because they are so talented. And sure, we need to refine some things around the edges.
Yeah.
So, maybe improve the decision-making a little bit, cut down on turnovers.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, let's let them be them. That's who they are and kind of work around them to an extent. So I can see how that's different from EuroLeague,
Yep.
where you go over there and it's like, hey, we have a system and, like, this is what we need you to do. If you don't do that, find somewhere else to play because we have such high standards and, like, it's my way or the highway type
Exactly.
of thing.
Well, also going back to the contract length, the longevity of, let's say, with G League, NBA, if you draft a guy, it's like, okay, like, we have you in the next 4 or 5 years. So I can, like, put up a fight and oh, I don't like how you do this or that. Or it's like, okay, like, this is what it is. And, like, obviously maybe a player needs to maturing up a little bit. Maybe he doesn't. But it's like, we're going to be working with you. When in overseas basketball, they're much quicker with, something's not working. It's not like a year or two where they move on. It's like a week or two.
So
it's like it's just different. It's totally different. Like it's apples and oranges, and I've had to learn a lot of that. And I work with I love our coach. Our coach is, I think, one of the best in Latin America. But his like FIBA brain and my NBA brain, there's there'll be some weird, and I'm like, I've seen a lot of weird stuff. That's nothing. And then for him, it's like, but he's learned a lot. And I've learned a lot from him, and it's been really fun to have two completely different opinions on basketball as players, how to do things, but then to work together as a team.
Yeah, that's perfect. I love that. You kind of bring certain strengths to the table from both sides.
100%.
And I'm sure it helps you in the long run for that team because you have different experiences from both sides, and I think that kind of comes together to create a really nice basketball product. So that's really cool. Let's switch gears a little bit here, Nick, and talk a little bit about NBA.
Yep.
We are here at Summer League. This is NBA Summer League, so NBA is kind of the start of the show here. And I wanted to talk about the team that you should be a part of, the Los Angeles Lakers. And if you guys have been watching the news cycle at all when it comes to the Lakers, I mean they're always in the news. It's LA, but especially around this time because of that prolific trade to get Luka Doncic, to get they've had LeBron for several years now. And the rumors are flying. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? They're going to try to trade him. Is he going to, leave for another team and things like that? So I don't really want to get into the rumors here today.
Yeah.
I mainly wanted to talk about, where they're going, where they stand currently today. So last season was a really great season for them. They were 50-32. They were ranked third in the Western Conference. Unfortunately, they got to the playoffs and sputtered out a little bit. They lost to the Timberwolves in 5 games. So that didn't go that well for them.
Yeah.
But going into this offseason, I mean, they've been active. They did lose Dorian Finney-Smith in free agency.
Yeah.
But they picked up Jake LaRavia. They picked up DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah.
So they finally filled that gap that they had at the center position. You still have Luka, you still have LeBron, so there's a lot of talent still there. But for the Lakers, I think they're kind of at a crossroads right now. You look at Luka, and he's in his mid-20s. He's just entering his prime.
Yep.
He's one of the best players in the world, easily. And you have LeBron, who's still one of the better players in the world. He's made All-NBA in his age 40 season last year, which is insane, unprecedented.
Yeah.
He's going to year 23, and you have to expect some level of decline from him. And maybe it's just the number of games goes down, but they're trying to figure out what to prioritize. Do we try to win now? Do we try to develop guys? I'm sure that's a really difficult thing to deal with. But just want to get your thoughts on the direction they're going right now, where they stand today. So, I wanted to see if you were disappointed by some of the moves they made? Were you impressed by some things? What do you think about the development of certain guys, maybe like Austin Reeves or some of their younger players? Like, what's your overall opinion of what the Lakers have been doing and what the kind of direction they're going in right now?
Yeah, I mean, getting DeAndre Ayton, I was looking at his stats and stuff, but he's only 27 years old.
Yeah.
And people are saying, oh, he didn't work out here, didn't work out there.
Yeah.
He's 27 years old.
He looks 35. But,
yeah.
But yeah, he's still got plenty of time left.
And he had plenty of time to work. I mean, he's not going to change his game. He's not going to turn into Jokic or Brook Lopez popping or whatever. Yeah. But still, he's still going to be he's going to be a great player for a long time in his career. He's got a simple game. He's giant. You can catch lobs, dunk everything.
Yep.
So I think he's going to be. I'd be really excited if I was a Laker fan or part of the Laker organization to have DeAndre Ayton. I really like Jake Lavario, another who'd always beat us in the G League, but good shooter, another wing. The way that they have been building their team, and I think the way to do it now is you have one or two studs on the ball, like Luka, LeBron. I don't know if you could have two better people to have on the ball. Mm-hmm. So you have them, and then you have to have wings, can shoot, can drive, just 3-and-D wings.
Yep.
That'd be my way. And then obviously with Luka, you need a guy who can catch lobs, so that's DeAndre Ayton. I think that would be the recipe not just for the Lakers, but for a lot of the teams now. When it used to be 2008, 9, 10, it's you have Kevin Garnett, Kendrick Perkins, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen. You have, with the Lakers, Bynum, Pau Gasol. I don't know Odom. I don't know if necessarily now that would really work. I think now it's more up and down. You need more. You have to have the guys who could do everything. That's LeBron, Luka. Lakers have two. I think a lot of teams you could survive with one. And then if you have 3, 4, 5 wings that can either be snipers on the wing like Austin Reeves, Lavaria. I'm sure they have more, maybe Rui. And then if you have a guy catching lobs, that's the perfect recipe for literally every team. But when you have probably the best passer, highest IQ player in the world of Luka, it's amazing. Now I could imagine, maybe with LeBron, again, I don't know anything, but maybe with LeBron they play him off the ball a little bit more like a middle relief pitcher where it's he's still going to start. You have to start him, obviously. But maybe he's he goes back in with a second unit. Let's say he comes out with 6 minutes to go in the first. Luka stays in for a few more. Then LeBron goes back in. And then when Luka goes back in, maybe you play him off the ball and as more of a point forward or something like that. That's what I would do. Because LeBron, if Luka's the best passer, highest IQ in the league, LeBron's probably second. I don't know. He's
he's
something like that.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's but if you play him off the ball as a high post passing, I mean, they're gonna pick people apart, and he could probably play center and still be the best center in the league. So it's gonna be. I'm really excited to see what JJ Redick and. I'm close with the analytics guy there, Phil Chang, what he's working on in the kitchen. But really excited to see what they do, and it's going to be, regardless, just the most exciting thing to watch. It's just for a basketball nut like us, it's just it's going to be perfect. But I do like you need shooters, which I'll have this year, have more space, and then Ayton's going to be wide open for the roll and just easy lob. So I mean, long story short, super excited. I like what they're doing, and. Let's just see. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a Lake Show, hopefully.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, like you said, I mean, they made some good moves. I think Ayton was a worthy gamble.
Yeah.
He's had some spurts earlier in his career where he didn't look completely locked in.
Yeah.
But we've seen when he is. I think there was a 15 or 20 game stretch last season with the Blazers where he was double-doubles, really showing why he was the number one pick.
Yeah.
Just very, I mean, no pun intended, but dominant.
Yeah.
On the offensive end, just being overly physical and getting boards and not being a liability on defense. I think if he can give the Lakers that type of production and really that type of effort every night, then they're going to be in great shape. I'm afraid though that there's going to be some times where he doesn't show that.
Yeah.
And I mean, they have 3 players, or they have 3 people in the organization that are just not going to be a fan of that at all. JJ Redick, LeBron, and Luka. Those 3 guys, it's they're very technical, high IQ players, and I mean they expect great things from the role players, guys who play their roles very well.
Yeah.
And if that's not happening, then I can see some conflict there. I can see things not really work out the way they want it to. So honestly, I've talked about this with several of my friends. I feel like this Lakers campaign is going to be either very successful to where they win either 50 or close to 50 games again, or things just don't work out. Ayton is just not the guy for the job. He clashes with JJ a little bit. But I think either way, you're getting 8, and you're not paying him $30 million a season.
Right.
I mean, you're getting him on. I think they gave him like the MLE to
2
bring
years,
him in.
$10 million or something. Was it that or something, or close to that?
Yeah, close to that. And I think for that money, it's worth it because you're getting maybe not like an all-star level player, but you're getting like a very high level starter. And if you can get that for the Lakers, I think that's a win. And we'll have to see how the rest of the roster rounds out. Finney Smith is gone, so you're losing one of those wings that you talked about, the 3-and-D wings. But you do have Dalton Connect, who's very good shooter. You do have some other guys like that. Laravia is a great shooter. So they have some pieces there.
Yeah.
But I'm still skeptical on whether or not they can break through the Western Conference.
Yeah.
There's so many teams. I mean, I was going through it with somebody yesterday. I think Nikias Duncan from the Dunker spot. And we were talking about it, and as we rattled off like 8 or 9 teams.
Yeah, it's tough.
That can be vying for one of those like top 6 spots.
Yep.
So when you think about that, it's like, man, like the Lakers have the work cut out for them. They have the talent, but I don't know if they have the complete roster. Kind of like last year where they didn't have that real center.
Yeah. This
year it's like, do you have the defensive players? Do you have the wings to get it done? I think that's where the question is.
The defensive players is key, and if you do have some good rim protection with 8, and if you don't have the best all-ball defenders, that obviously helps. But what I would say to that, and I agree, there is, even with LMVP, G League, NBA, sometimes I'll get stressed, like looking at other teams, like, But when it comes down to it, in my experience, like once you get to playoffs, once you get to like the games that like really, really matter, then it goes down to your stars. And it's like, if obviously you can't have a star and, like no one's out there, you need to have a good team. It's a team sport. But still, if there's enough pieces around Luka, LeBron, then the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
We just have to see. And also going back to Ayton, like he's on that deal. But the thing is, if he has 2 amazing years with the Lakers, he's going to get another massive contract.
Oh, yeah.
So he knows, like, hey, I'm playing with LeBron. Portland was not a very competitive team last year.
Right.
So now it's like, okay, this is Lake Show, this is Showtime, this is LA, Lakers playing for a championship with LeBron, with Luka. This is my time to do it. And if you can't do it there, then that's tough. But he's going to have all the incentives in the world to have an amazing time there, not just for money, but just being part of an amazing team, organization. And I agree with you. And what, like, you look at the depth charts of other teams, it might get kind of scary, but when it comes down to it, there'll be 3 minutes left, tied game in the playoffs, and it's like,
give it to one of those 2 guys and let them work.
Exactly. Whether they make the shot or whether it's like John Paxson with the Bulls, if you have the right pieces around him, Steve Kerr obviously, or Robert Horry, but obviously like Shaq and Kobe and LeBron and Luka would be the ones to get them to the 3 minutes tied game. But still, like, you want those guys in your corner. So
absolutely.
I agree, but that's kind of something because I get stressed out when I look ahead. I'm like, they're good too.
They're good.
Yeah, but then it comes down to your top couple guys to see what they can do.
Absolutely. The talent brings you home.
Exactly.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, and the guys who have done it before, but we'll see. I'm cheering for them. I mean, people are like, what team are you a fan of? I'm like, well, I grew up a huge Celtics fan, which I couldn't hide.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't
That's
say
crazy.
that. Yeah, like the 2008 series, 2007-8 series, like that, like fueled me to work in basketball. Growing up in Portland, Maine, and then I'm a Laker fan, but obviously still appreciate the Celtics, like
for sure.
Growing up in cold New England. But really, I'm really excited, and I hope they do well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll see. It should be a fun season.
Absolutely.
To round out this podcast, to start to wind things down here, I just wanted to kind of get back to your personal experience, your journey.
Yeah.
No trade clause. We're helping out with Sports Business Classroom this year, and they bring in a lot of great instructors. And although you're not an instructor, I think you have a wealth of experience that you can share with others that may be looking to be in your shoes one day. So just going first to the personal experience with the Capitanes first, and then migrating over to Diablos Rios. Being with those 2 organizations, I wanted to ask you, there's certain things that you learned because you're a general manager in both. Your experience with the Capitanes was your first outing as general manager. Are there certain things that you learned, you picked up in that time frame with the Capitanes that you were able to bring to your current club and, kind of help you have an even more of an impact or just approach the job a little bit differently, be more effective? Like anything like that for you that kind of stands out?
Absolutely. I mean, I think when I became the general manager, I was either 30 or 31, but I had a lot of basketball experience at that time. But I learned a lot like you can always, the fun part and the easy part, but it's only 10% of the job of being general manager is the basketball part.
Right.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of other things that go into it.
Yeah.
Obviously, the most fun part, what 95% of the questions will be like, putting together a roster. But that's like playing fantasy basketball.
Right.
But that as a general manager is a small part of the job, and I learned and didn't know as much about like dealing with different personalities on staff, the people, how to hold people accountable. There's so much that I didn't even like. If a staff member can't get along with another staff member, or a player can't get along with a staff member, how to deal with that situation.
Yeah,
that was all the stuff I really was like learning on the spot. So when I changed to Diablo, it's like, okay, like I know how to build a basketball team. It's like I've been watching basketball my whole life, but also been working in basketball like 15 years. But then now like I went in with more experience with kind of dealing with those different personalities, the culture part of the team. And it was extremely valuable having that, learning that with Capitanes, and now bringing that to Diablos Rojos. And it was much more than I thought. Everyone, and maybe with another organization, another G League team, you have a much bigger staff. But with Capitanes, it's a much smaller staff. You have no parent team. So if a player is going crazy or whatever, you can't be like, hey, NBA general manager, can you come talk to him? Or like, what's going on here? Like, there was none of that. So it was me being Dr. Phil. But now with Diablos Rojos, I took a lot of those experiences. It is a different league, different players. A lot of the players are still older than me, so that part's funny. But extremely valuable, and I don't know if that is taught enough in these classes. And I would love to have listened to podcasts about just dealing with like personalities. I think sometimes it's hard, but you could have whole conversations not mentioning the names, but like that is 90% of being a general manager, and honestly being a head coach is just dealing with problems, personalities, and how to progress as a team. Mm-hmm. It's all about the team and like maximizing what the team can do, and that's long story short, the job of a general manager. Yeah,
that's really interesting. And you talked about how like when you were with the Capitanes, you didn't have the access to the same resources as you did when you were with an NBA club.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that kind of the same thing applies going over to Diablos Rojos with that club. Have you noticed that there are some certain hurdles that you have there you didn't have the Capitanes because maybe like less access to facilities, or just like the maybe logistics are a little bit different, or having to do more on that front? Like, what have you noticed being with that team that maybe you didn't have to deal with maybe being with the Capitanes before?
Well, I'd say one easier part actually is that with the Diablos Rojos is like guys aren't thinking about getting to the NBA. It's their job. Like they obviously want to make money, and they want to win a championship to help their career. So now I kind of like it in that like when we get a player, it's like they're staying with us and they want the team to win, and they're going to be with us. When with Capitanes, it was really the part that I didn't like, and I don't think any G League GM likes, is that you don't really know what your team's going to be, like day to day, let alone
turnover.
Yeah, so you're kind of like always like, I mean, you're always working.
Sure.
Like even now, like our team's cruising, and I'm like, okay, like what do we got to do maybe? But with G League, it's so hard. It's like a guy has a massive game, and you're like, okay, like, I guess we might lose him, So it's like it's a constant struggle. So that's the part I really appreciate about, NBA. Obviously, you don't lose your top guys, but in the FIBA world, we do have a lot of resources. The travel's way easier. Like we bus, or I'm meeting the team on the road for our game tomorrow, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The resources are pretty similar. Actually, the really easier part with Diablos that's been is that they've owned a baseball team in Mexico for 30 years, and they have Robinson Cano there. They had Trevor Bauer last year. So they know, and they already have a lot of those, like, infrastructure things in place. Like, we already have a marketing department. We have all the doctor things that you could possibly ever dream of. We have nutrition, food, gym, the hotel that the players stay at. So we already had all these things in place, and it's kind of just like plug and place. When with Capitanes was like, we have to figure out all those things that have nothing to do with basketball constantly.
Right, for sure. Well, that's really interesting. I'm glad you were to speak into that. And, it is interesting to hear that like certain things are easier than like what you had to deal with before going into that league. So that's a really cool perspective, and I'm, really glad I got to hear that.
Of course,
that's
yeah.
Really cool.
Just having, G League is, they always say if you can coach or work in the G League, you can coach in any league or work in any league, because it's, you got guys who want to get to the NBA, they want to go overseas, they want to, so maybe some of them want to stay, small percentage, but it's usually they're trying to, so now like just having a team that's like, we want to win a championship. It's like, and we all pitched that to the players in G League, but in reality, like, yeah, Mozinho wanted to win a championship, but he got called up and he left.
Right.
It's like,
so
you got to go every
happens.
single time, man.
Yep,
you know, so
for sure.
yeah, it's been a great learning experience.
Awesome. One last question here for you, Nick, before I let you go. When it comes to this current club, Diablos Rijos, you've been there for a little over a year now?
A little over a year, yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
So, going forward, and I'm sure that, you want to continue to pour in this team as much as you can and get them to a better place. Obviously, you want to win games. That's, any organization, that's the main goal. But, long term, looking maybe down the line, another season, 2 or 3, what are some of maybe a few other little goals that you have? So, like mile marks, some check marks that you have when it comes to, like, bettering this team, getting it to a better place? Like, what are you trying to do here? What's some of your main goals for the next few years or so of this team? Yeah,
something we're working on right now actually is a youth academy in Mexico. So they have the Diablos Rojos have a big baseball academy. They have 40 kids that live there, and they train all day. They go to, I think, online classes. But 15 of those kids have signed to MLB teams this year.
Okay.
We want to do that on the basketball side.
Gotcha.
So that's the NBA academy is closing or just closed in Mexico. We want to figure out a plan for Mexicans to have a clear pathway to NCAA, to high school in the U.S., to top professional potential, whether that's maybe they want to go pro at 17.
Right.
We have a few 16, 17-year-olds practicing with us right now, which has never really happened before in Mexico. So I would be and one of the things I love about this team is an organization is they really promote Mexico. Mm-hmm. And I would love to be part of helping Mexico basketball reach its potential. There is a lot of talent. There just needs to be better pathways for players to succeed. Obviously, Kareem Lopez, he'll be top 10, but he's in New Zealand. Gael Bonilla with us, he was in Spain. Diego Willis was in Spain. So it's like there is ways to make it. It seems like right now the only way is to leave in the high school. So I would love to have and work on an academy, a pathway within Mexico. And that's something we're working on now. We're kind of tweaking it as we go. We're trying to think of something that makes the most sense. And then we will add a women's team eventually in the Mexican League, which is be super exciting to have a longer season too. Could do men's league, then would have the women's league. So those are just long impacts. I mean, winning is fun, winning championships. Hopefully we go back to back. But if we can leave a long-term impact on Mexico basketball, then there's really not anything better than that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, love hearing about those goals. It seems like you're on the right path. You guys are 4-0 this season. So I just want to wish you the best as you continue this season. Hope things keep going well for you and in the rest of your career, man. So thanks again for joining the pod. It's always a pleasure talking to you, man.
Thanks for having me. Next year I'll have you a hat or something for you.
Oh, that sounds good, man. Sounds good. I'd love to get some merch.
For sure. Thank you.
Everybody, thanks for joining us for another podcast. We're coming at you live from UNLV in Las Vegas. It's been a great time here. We'll be looking to get back to normal podcasts here very soon, so stay tuned at our website, notradeclause.com. You can also follow our socials over on our website, and we have all our podcasts there. We have cap sheets for you. We have Draft Capital, so a lot of different resources to keep you guys plugged into the game of basketball and in the NBA specifically. So thanks for checking out this episode. We hope to see you guys on the next installment of NTC. Take care, everybody.